The fluorescent lights hummed above. Eli stifled a yawn, feeling the weight of the night shift bearing down on him. The gas station was eerily quiet, save for the occasional hum of the lights and the distant rustle of leaves outside. He glanced at the clock, its digital numbers glowing in the dim light. The clock ticking past 2 a.m. Each second seemed to stretch into eternity, the minutes dragging on as if time itself was reluctant to move forward. Eli sighed, rubbing his eyes in an attempt to stay awake. The night was always the hardest part of his shift, the hours between midnight and dawn feeling like an endless expanse of darkness. The mountain air was silent outside, a heavy stillness that seemed to press in on the small gas station. The vast expanse of the mountains loomed in the darkness, their peaks barely visible against the starless sky. It was a solitude that Eli had grown accustomed to, a quiet that was both comforting and unsettling, a stark contrast to the crackling static of the surveillance monitors. The screens flickered, showing grainy images of the empty lot and the surrounding forest. Eli watched them out of habit, knowing that nothing ever happened at this hour. Yet the static was a reminder of the world outside, a world that seemed so far away in the dead of night. The Pinewood gas station stood alone, a beacon of artificial light in a sea of dark pines. It was a lonely outpost, a small island of civilization in the vast wilderness. The trees stood like silent sentinels, their dark forms blending into the night. Eli often wondered what lay beyond them, what secrets the forest held in its depths. Eli was grateful for the company, however inanimate. The shelves of snacks and drinks, the rows of magazines and the hum of the refrigerators were his silent companions. They were constants in his nightly routine, familiar and unchanging. He found a strange comfort in their presence, a sense of normalcy in the midst of the isolation. He was thankful for the quiet too. The stillness of the night allowed him to think, to reflect on his life and the choices that had led him here. It was a time for introspection, a rare moment of peace in an otherwise chaotic world. The quiet was a balm for his weary soul, a chance to find some semblance of tranquility. His chair creaked as he shifted, the only sound besides the whisper of the ventilation. The old chair was worn and uncomfortable, but it was his perch for the night. He leaned back, stretching his legs and trying to find a more comfortable position. The hours ahead seemed long, but he was determined to make it through. The coffee had long gone cold, leaving a bitter aftertaste and a dull ache behind his eyes. He took another sip, grimacing at the taste but grateful for the caffeine. It was a small comfort, a lifeline in the endless night. The fatigue was a constant companion, a reminder of the long hours he had yet to endure. He longed for the sun, for the familiar chirp of birds that never seemed to reach this valley. The dawn was a promise of a new day, a break from the monotony of the night. He imagined the first rays of sunlight breaking over the mountains, the sky painted in hues of pink and gold. It was a sight he cherished, a reminder that even the longest night would eventually give way to the light. Suddenly, one of the screens flickered. It was Pump 3, the furthest from the building. Static washed over the image, momentarily obscuring the pump. When the picture returned, a figure stood beside it. Tall and gaunt, it seemed to melt into the darkness around it, its edges blurry and indistinct. Eli sat up, heart pounding. He rubbed his eyes, convinced it was a trick of the light. But when he looked back, the figure remained. Frozen in place, it emanated an aura of wrongness that sent chills down Eli's spine. He reached for the phone, his finger hovering over the speed dial for his boss. He hesitated. Was it a prank? Some kids messing around? The forecourt was eerily silent, the kind of silence that makes you question every decision. The dim lights cast long shadows and the occasional flicker added to the unsettling atmosphere. He glanced around, half expecting someone to jump out and yell, "Gotcha!" But there was nothing, just the empty expanse of the gas station, bathed in the cold glow of the overhead lights. He'd seen enough horror movies to know better than to investigate alone, especially in a place like this. The stories always started the same way, a lone figure, a mysterious noise, and then, well, it never ended well. But this was real life, not some scripted drama. Still, the unease gnawed at him. What if it wasn't just a prank? What if someone needed help? The conflicting thoughts battled in his mind, each one more persistent than the last. But calling the sheriff for a blurry figure on a faulty security camera seemed excessive. He replayed the footage in his mind, a shadowy figure, barely discernible, moving erratically. It could have been anything, a trick of the light, a stray animal, or even a glitch in the system. Yet the nagging feeling wouldn't let go. He knew he had to do something, even if it was just to put his own mind at ease. He decided to check it out himself. Stepping out into the night, he felt a chill run down his spine. The air was colder than he expected, and the darkness seemed to press in from all sides. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. Each step felt heavier than the last, the weight of uncertainty bearing down on him. But he pressed on, driven by a mix of curiosity and duty. The night air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine needles and damp earth. It was a familiar smell, one that usually brought comfort. But tonight, it felt different, more intense, almost suffocating. The stars above twinkled indifferently, a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing within him. He paused for a moment, taking in the serene yet haunting beauty of the night. It was as if the world was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. He shone his flashlight on pump 3, the beam cutting through the darkness. There was nothing there. The light revealed only the mundane, a worn-out gas pump, a few scattered leaves and the faint outline of tire tracks. He moved the beam slowly, methodically, hoping to catch a glimpse of whatever had triggered the security alert. But the more he looked, the more it seemed like a wild goose chase. He circled the pump, checking every angle, his unease growing with each passing second. The shadows seemed to dance just out of reach, taunting him. He crouched down, peering into the darkness beneath the pump, but found nothing. Standing up, he wiped his brow, the cold sweat a stark reminder of his growing anxiety. Every creak, every rustle of leaves set his nerves on edge. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. He could have sworn he saw something move in the periphery, a fleeting shadow that vanished as quickly as it appeared. His heart raced, pounding in his chest like a drum. He spun around, flashlight beam darting across the forecourt, but there was nothing. Just the empty night, mocking his fear. He took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. Maybe it was just his imagination playing tricks on him in the darkness, a fleeting shadow that vanished as quickly as it appeared. He stood there for a moment, frozen, unsure of what to do next. The silence was deafening, broken only by the distant hum of the gas station's lights. He knew he couldn't stay out here all night, chasing shadows. With a final reluctant glance around, he turned and headed back inside, the unease still gnawing at him. Whatever it was, it would have to wait until morning. Back inside, his heart still hammered against his ribs. He checked the monitors again, his eyes darting from screen to screen, searching for any sign of movement. The dim light of the gas station's interior cast long shadows, making every corner seem more sinister than it was. He could feel the sweat trickling down his back, his shirt clinging to his skin. The silence was deafening, broken only by the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. The figure was gone. He let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. The relief was palpable, but it was short-lived. He knew he had seen something, and the nagging doubt gnawed at the back of his mind. He glanced around the empty store, the rows of snacks and drinks standing like silent sentinels. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, each second stretching into an eternity. But as he cycled through the cameras, his blood ran cold. The figure was back. It was as if it had never left, lurking just out of sight, waiting for the right moment to reappear. His hands trembled as he adjusted the focus, trying to get a clearer view. The figure's movements were slow, deliberate, almost taunting. It was closer now, standing by the gas station's sign, its form clearer, more defined. It was closer now, standing by the gas station's sign, its form clearer, more defined. The eerie glow of the sign cast an unsettling light on the figure, making it look almost otherworldly. He could make out the contours of its face, the hollow eyes staring back at him through the screen. A shiver ran down his spine as he realized it was looking directly at the camera, directly at him. He picked up the phone, finally dialing his boss. The line crackled with static. His fingers felt numb as he punched in the numbers, each beep echoing in the empty store. He pressed the receiver to his ear, straining to hear over the interference. The static was relentless, a constant hiss that seemed to grow louder with each passing second. He could barely make out his boss's voice on the other end, distorted and distant. Then, a voice, low and distorted, whispered through the speaker, a horrifying distortion of a child's nursery rhyme. The words were twisted, the melody warped into something sinister. He felt a chill settle in his bones, the hairs on the back of his neck standing on end. The voice was unlike anything he had ever heard, a blend of human and something else entirely. It was as if the very essence of fear had been given a voice. He fumbled with the phone, about to hang up, when another voice cut through the static, chilling him to the bone. They're already inside. The words echoed in his mind, a terrifying realization dawning on him. He spun around, eyes wide with fear, scanning the store for any sign of movement. The shadows seemed to shift and dance, playing tricks on his mind. He knew he wasn't alone, and the thought sent a wave of panic crashing over him. He had to get out, but his legs felt like lead, rooted to the spot by an unseen force. Section 5. Reflections of Fear. The line went dead. Eli spun around, his back against the wall, the phone clattering to the floor. His eyes darted around the room, searching for the source of the voice. He was alone. Or so he thought. He caught a glimpse of movement in the reflection of one of the screens. The figure stood directly behind him, its face obscured by darkness, its eyes burning with an unnatural light. A scream caught in his throat, a silent plea swallowed by fear. Panic seized him. He scrambled back, knocking over a chair in his haste. He had to get out, to get help. But the figure moved with an unnatural speed, gliding across the room, its form solidifying with each passing second. He made a desperate dash for the storage room, slamming the door shut and fumbling with the lock. He could hear the figure pounding on the other side, its rage echoing through the metal door. He huddled in the corner, the darkness pressing in on him. He could hear whispers now, voices slithering through the walls, chanting that distorted rhyme. He covered his ears, trying to block out the sound, but it was no use. They were everywhere. They promised him safety, promised him peace. All he had to do was let them in, but Eli knew better. He knew the truth that lurked beneath their saccharine promises. He pressed his back against the wall, his eyes squeezed shut, clinging desperately to the hope of morning. The first rays of dawn pierced through the cracks in the boarded-up windows, painting the deserted gas station in a pale, cold light. The only sound was the wind whistling through the pines, a mournful dirge echoing in the stillness. Sheriff Davies and Deputy Miller approached cautiously, guns drawn. The door swung open, revealing a scene of chaos. Chairs overturned, papers scattered across the floor, the air thick with an unnatural chill, but there was no sign of Eli. They found his belongings scattered around the storage room, his phone lying open on the floor, the screen displaying a single image, a still frame from the security footage of the figure at Pump 3. Next to the phone, a note, scrawled in a shaky hand. They followed the signal. As the sun climbed higher, reports began to flood in from across the globe. Gas stations, isolated and desolate, all echoing with the same chilling tale. Surveillance footage from every corner of the world showed the same thing, a lone figure, tall and gaunt, standing by Pump 3. The signal had been sent, and they had answered.